Difficult time in education policy, as we're seeing many changes coming down from the state level related to certification requirements that require our constant attention and focus. And still, in line with our strategic plan, we are prevailing at Bank Street, and we're very active, seeking new partners and new strategies for increasing enrollment. We're engaging with new school districts in New York City to partner around teacher residency programs. We're now reaching out to more suburban districts to partner around teacher education and education leadership. And we are engaging with several undergraduate institutions to develop a pipeline into Bank Street programs through kind of these +1 programs that are undergraduate and master's programs together in 5 years. We're also seeking external funding for research projects and research practice partnerships, one of which will focus on the migrant education crisis that we're all so aware of in New York City. And we've been doing an equity series through the graduate school that's tied to our conference groups and our supervised fieldwork advising to help students really understand the impact of the migrant crisis here in New York City on our public schools. We've received more than 160,000 migrants in New York City since the beginning of the most recent wave in 2022. 33,000 of these migrants, or newest New Yorkers, are students in our public schools. And what we also realized here at Bank Street, because Lucy Sprague Mitchell taught us about context and our social surroundings and understanding that, is that our public schools are often our de facto safety net. The only institution that's supporting students in terms of not only social and emotional needs, but also their material needs in terms of clothing, shoes, food, etc. So we've heard from two sets of panelists, educators working in public schools in New York City with high levels of migrant students about the challenges they face every day and the services they're providing to migrant students. And we've been working on developing a new project here at Bank Street that will pull together several resources that we have to think about how we could concentrate them in a small number of schools, just to learn about how we could support educators at this time. And I'm very happy to say our emotionally responsive practice work through our center that Margaret's going to be talking about is very much at the center of what we're trying to do to support educators and children through this migrant crisis, and to really think about the meaning of public education at a time when an institution like public schools is under so much threat right now. And so I'm hugely proud of this work. We've sent out one grant proposal to conduct a research practice partnership program to really not only support schools, public schools at this time, but to also learn more about what kinds of supports our schools need to help the newest New Yorkers thrive in education. And so I want to turn it over to Margaret Blanchley, the Associate Director of our Center for Emotionally Responsive Practice, to share with you more about the work that they're doing. And you can see the connection between our hope to support our newest New Yorkers and the work of our center.
Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, Shale. Thank you, Jane and Tracy. It's really been a pleasure to get to know about the Lucy Sprague Mitchell Society over the past fall. I have a long history at Bank Street, and I love being in this space with all of you who also have a long history at Bank Street. I've been at Bank Street as a baby, a child, a teenager, a parent, a faculty member, and I've been with the Center for Emotionally Responsive Practice for 10 years now, and I'm so pleased to be able to share our work with you today. Because like Shale, like Amy, I could talk about ERP and about Bank Street for a long, long time. We have made a slideshow to help me stay on track and help share with you in a brief way today, but in a meaningful way, about the work that we're doing in really out there in the world and also back home at Bank Street. So I'm going to turn on my slideshow and I'll continue talking with the slides. Before I turn on the slideshow, I'd like to also say that several of my colleagues from ERP are with us today. You will get a chance to meet them in a breakout room in a little while. And not all of us are here today, but all of us are really pleased that ERP has a chance to connect with all of you. Does everybody see the slideshow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here we go. We are the Center for Emotionally Responsive Practice. We're pleased to be with you here today. Emotionally Responsive Practices work is based in the graduate school at Bank Street. Most of our work is done out there in the world. We have a variety of services. All of our services have the goal of addressing emotional well-being. But it's not only children's emotional well-being. We're addressing emotional well-being for children, for teachers, assistant teachers and paraprofessionals, school leaders, social workers, school counselors, parent coordinators, family child caregivers, parents and guardians. And we do this work through classroom coaching, through professional development series, through teacher support groups, parent engagement groups, social worker and school counselor support groups and supervision, administrator support groups and administrator consultations. That's a lot. That's a fancy way of saying we get contracts to be out in the world at schools, at programs, at centers, and we meet the people who are there and we support them with the emotional needs that they have. Everywhere we go is a different story. So everywhere we go, we adapt our services to what their needs are. This little map shows just some of the places that we have worked throughout the 5 boroughs. We don't have New Jersey and Connecticut on this map, but we've also worked in all of these states, sometimes traveling to the states, and now with our new ability to work remotely and through hybrid, we've connected with educators in all of these states. We also have a conference every fall, which has brought people in from, I haven't counted the states yet, but I think we're getting up there to at least half of the US states have attended our conference over the past 9 years. So I'm going to give you just a glimpse of a couple of different ways that it looks when emotionally responsive practice does our work out in the world. And this slide shows ERP at PS197Q, which is a school out in Far Rockaway, where we've been working for almost 12 years. We came to this school first after Hurricane Sandy, and we have been at this school mostly with our colleague Felice, who's here. She's been our main coach at that school, but I myself have been out there as well. And these images show parents working in a parent engagement group on creating a quilt to help them process the devastating loss and fear after Hurricane Sandy and how to talk about what helped them stay strong. There's a chart that Felice helped children make in a classroom to think about what a safe school looks like. There are children working with teddy bears, and the Teddy Bears in Classroom Practice is a hallmark program that we provide, although not all schools that work with us use the teddy bears. And here's a picture of a Zoom call, just like we're on now. You can see the joy here. There are teachers and children and parents involved in a Zoom call with our coach, and this is how we adapted to support this school all the way through COVID. So some of our partnerships are long-term. Some of our partnerships come and go. This was a wonderful partnership we did here in the graduate school at Bank Street. Our now colleague, Michelle Ryan, who's on this call, was supporting the Early Childhood Urban Education Initiative and brought emotionally responsive practice to the graduate students who were working teachers. You can see them here creating their own teddy bears. And I think the images speak for themselves. And the teddy bear program is an emotional support program that also is a community building program that also is a tool for teachers to learn about children in a deeper way. And you'll see a little bit more evidence of that in a little while. These slides are from an initiative we have with District 20 out in Brooklyn. And this district is pre-K centers, and they asked us to bring the teddy bear program to all of their pre-Ks in the whole district. And our colleagues shared some images here of a child from Ukraine, and this was last year during the beginning of the Ukraine war. And you can see the comfort that the child is receiving from having a teddy bear that belongs to him at school. And you can see the comfort that it brings to children at rest time to have something that belongs to them at school. So the teddy bears bring a lot of joy. And all of you probably received a little teddy bear prior to this tea, or you'll be receiving it soon after. So I've got my little Lucy Sprague Mitchell Society tea bear right here. And the previous slide showed a child who had arrived from Ukraine in a pre-K center. We have been experiencing over the past 5 or 6 years an increase in immigration stories in the classrooms where we arrive. And we've been working with this in many different ways. The images here show work that children have done. This work here was done at the Chinese American Planning Council pre-K centers, where we learned about children who lived far away from their parents for several years and then reconnected with their parents. Sometimes they went to live in China with grandparents until they were ready for kindergarten and then came home to the United States and were navigating that transition. So this child drew a picture and described one day come back far away. Her teddy bear is waiting for her mommy. My teddy bear feels sad. My teddy bear doesn't have her mom. Her mommy's still far away. When the child was able to tell this story to their teacher understood what they were thinking about, what their needs were. And although they couldn't bring the child and the mother together in real life, they were able to connect them through being the bridge. And the teddy bear held the feelings, and the teacher was the bridge, and writing down the child's story made it real. We wrote a story in the Bank Street Occasional Papers series called Over the Hills and Far Away, inviting and holding traumatic stories in school. And in this, we detail the story of working with the children and the Chinese American Planning Council. And we also tell the story of children who even long ago were already having stories about crossing the border by foot. And so this was actually a child that I worked with who drew a picture about his own journey. And when his teacher heard me talking with him about the journey and drawing the picture, she looked at me and said, "I can't believe what he's been through. Now I understand. Now I understand why he's so scared sometimes. Now I understand why sometimes he wants to leave the classroom. Now I understand why the security guard makes him scared instead of safe." And I've included down here also work from one of the graduate students that has worked with us in their independent master's project, creating a book for her class called Far and Near, Cerca y Lejos. And she worked in a bilingual classroom where the majority of her children had immigrated themselves or had parents who had immigrated. And so they sometimes went back and forth. And through this invitation, the children felt such a sense of belonging. They felt a sense of being seen and known. They felt their stories were important. So the reason why we bring these immigration stories here is because, as Amy said, we respond to the needs at hand. And the newest New Yorkers is a story that is affecting so many people in New York, from teachers to classrooms to principals, and really to the children themselves. Our work this year has focused on supporting schools in districts where they've received many, many New Yorkers. And some of the stories that we'll tell this evening come from those schools. When we go into schools, we use different techniques and we teach different concepts. We don't have time tonight to go through all of the program and curriculum, but I wanted to share a few because you may hear us talking about it. We talk about inviting and containing. And when we say inviting, we're thinking about children's stories. We're inviting their whole stories, their whole self, their whole identity into the classroom. And the classroom is a containing space. It's a safe space. It's a space that's predictable. It's a place with safe relationships. So inviting and containing is a framework that we offer educators to think about. How are they balancing these two things in their space, whether it's their school or their classroom? What elements of their classroom are inviting? How do children know their whole selves are welcome? What elements are containing? How do we know that children are safe? How do they know that they can predict what will happen? Because that is the kind of setting where children can truly learn deeply. And it's a very familiar Bank Street classroom. Inviting and containing is the emotionally responsive practice language that helps educators think about their own classrooms and reflect. We talk about using reflective language to validate and support. So whenever we hear children tell a story or teachers tell a story, we reflect back to them what we've heard. We pause before teaching and first connect through reflective language. The teddy bears in classroom practice, as I mentioned, is one feature of our work, and it's one that you've seen in many of these slides. It's certainly not the only way that we work. Many schools want this, and some schools don't. And emotionally responsive practice works whether we're using the teddy bears or not. And bibliotherapy. Bibliotherapy is using literature as a way to reflect and connect to the people that you're with. So we are going to do some bibliotherapy with you tonight. And we call this a parallel process. When we were meeting with Tracy and Jane to plan this event, we thought about what really feels connective on a Zoom call. How can we really be with people and be in the room with them? And we decided that we would do a parallel process, meaning we'll do with you what we do with teachers, what we do with kids. And we think you're really going to enjoy this. And we'll find out because you'll get a chance to tell us your stories afterwards. I want to invite you to pick up your Lucy Sprague Mitchell Society tea teddy if you've received it already. Because sometimes when we do have bears in a classroom, we bring the teddy bears to a read aloud. And sometimes the teddy bears listen to the story with us. And sometimes the teddy bears have the same feelings about the story that we do. And sometimes they have different ideas. Sometimes we talk to the bears or even let them whisper in our ears. So go ahead and let your bear enjoy this story with us. This is a book that we have been reading as part of our program to support the schools who are supporting the newest New Yorkers. It's important to say that all the children in the class are not New Yorkers. So this is a book that is able to reach everybody. We're curious about what it will do for you. So sit back and relax and enjoy Jenny's Journey. Jenny's Journey is by Sheila White Samton. Jenny's Journey. This book is for Willa Breslaw, Janet Coleman, and Karen Wilkin, friends for a lifetime. One day, Jenny got a letter from her best friend who had moved far away. Jenny felt sad because her friend was lonely. Jenny wrote back right away. Dear Maria, I miss you too. This is a picture of the boat I'll sail to visit you. Here I come. The sun is rising and I'm setting out. I'm sailing my boat through the tugboats and the sailboats and the motorboats and the ferries and past the statue, Our Lady of the Harbor, and under a bridge. Where are you going? I'm going to visit Maria. Till I get to the open sea. Maria, I wake up all alone on the ocean. Remember how lonely I felt when you moved away? I feel lonely now too. But then a dolphin shoots out of the water, then another one. And here come some seagulls. They all want my breakfast. It's like the day we fed the seals at the zoo. I sail along. Suddenly, I'm in the shadow of a big black wall. It's an ocean liner. Far above me, a voice booms out. Little girl, where are you going? Don't worry, don't worry. I'm going to visit Maria. That night, I steer my boat through a chain of islands. When I open my eyes in the morning, oh no, I'm caught in a storm at sea. The howling wind fills my sail, and all day long I steer up and down, waves like mountains, until the ocean is calm again, and I can take out my guitar and sing. Oh, Maria, don't you cry for me, for I'm coming for to see ya, right across the deep blue sea. By now, you probably think I'll never get there. But the next day, I finally see land. There's a long pier, and you are on it waiting for me. Hooray! So don't feel lonely, and someday I really will come to see you. Love, your friend, Jenny. This is the back of the book. Just shows this part when Jenny first began her story. It all started with a drawing and an idea. So our parallel process involved you hearing the story, and now it's going to involve you getting to talk about what it was like for you to read that story with us. So in a moment, Jane is going to send you something magically. It will appear exactly what you see here, an image that says breakout rooms. The host is inviting you to join breakout room. And you will have to just put your cursor right here on join and click it. Try not to click later. If you do, don't worry, we'll help you get back. Try to click join. You'll find yourself in a breakout room with one of the ERP facilitators who are here with us today. And in that breakout room, we're going to ask our classic bibliotherapy questions. What did hearing this story make you think about? What did it remind you of? What feelings came up? Jane will let us know when we have 1 minute left so we can wrap up our conversations. And you can be sure that we won't get to finish our conversations. But we're really looking forward to hearing from you in those breakout rooms. So Jane, is this the moment when there we go.
Jail and Amy, we did not assign you to breakout rooms. See if
Well,
everybody
I also left my bear at home.
into, how did you get a breakout room assignment? Oh, okay. I thought you were.
I didn't get one.
Neither did I.
Hold on, Hal. Sorry about that.
Hi, Betsy.
I have.
Okay, so we've got a couple people, Betsy, Flash. Oh, Betsy, you probably want to go where your mom is. Did you get her? Her daughter, yeah. I'm gonna give you not to your daughter. And then Hal, where's Hal?
Hey, Hal.
Into Michelle. Okay, who have we got? Betsy, did you get an assignment? Let's see.
Mine came through now.
Who's left?
Dan, Marilyn.
I thought she was in somebody's. Let's see. Dan, let's see. Do you have a different name on your, are you on an iPad potentially? Hmm. I don't know where.
Can you scroll?
Is here? Mhm.
Well, we can do the breakout here.
Do you want to start? Let's see if I can sign. Just a second. Yeah, why don't we do, you know what? Why don't we do a little breakout room right here with Linda and Deanne and Meg, if you're still here. I guess, are folks still here that are screens aren't showing? I think we just need to get Deanne into a room, basically. I don't know why. It's just. Can I put her into it? I gotta start timing, so.
I have an eye on the time.
Okay. She doesn't come up as unassigned.
So let's just do the breakout together
Okay,
because we have 3 people.
think, yeah.
Deanne,
Yes.
Linda, Meg. I got my,
Yeah. I'll do it.
would you like to share what the story brought up for you? I don't know.
Sure.
Can they hear?
I don't think we can.
Deanne?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I have actually moved from Mexico City many years ago to Maryland, and now I'm living in Pennsylvania. And certainly we know how difficult transitions are for young children. And moving requires a lot of effort and transition and emotional, social stress. And I think it is something to really recognize those stories that all of us have as we have moved on and developed in our lives.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that would like to share what the story brought up for them?
Mm, I'll say the importance of friendship and that human connection across time and space. And that just made me think a lot about the newest New Yorkers and who they've left behind and who they don't have here with them when they come.
Jackie or Linda, do you have anything to share? Or Meg? I'm not sure they can hear us.
Yeah. I think they may have tuned out. They may be on their own journey. Or
Well, I think we'll bring the groups back. It's been 3 minutes since you've asked about the time.
I will be joined by folks fairly soon, but I think that now this is the second time I've heard this story, and one, I think it's so nice to have your experience couched in a story because it makes you feel less alone. So that was, when I hear that, I think about, kids that might be a little afraid to talk about some kind of journey or experience they've had, but to kind of couch it in a story, I'm sure opens them up to further conversation. So I really enjoyed that part of the story. And we will bring folks back and see what folks have to say. Betsy, we very much have enjoyed getting to work with Margaret, and we enjoyed her bit of singing that story a little bit. And we know you're an infamous music teacher here at School for Children, so we know where she got the voice a little bit.
Infamous still, huh?
So I would think people would be coming back.
I think I left my breakout room because I pushed the wrong button.
10
okay.
seconds.
Okay, great.
And so, Betsy, you're Margaret's mother.
I am.
How fun.
I
I really enjoy getting to know your daughter.
From the beginning. Yes, I've been Margaret's mother, and having her,
Known her from the beginning.
well, taking her to all of the Bank Street, her.
You didn't get to talk.
It's been
Okay.
wonderful.
Welcome back, everybody. I see that in my absence, my mom started talking about me.
Yes.
It's always a danger in bringing her along. I'm
And
sure
you're
we all-
right. We never have enough time to
That's
talk.
good.
We never do. Our group
Never.
ended at the most beautiful statement that I think was 3 words away from completing a sentence. So what rich conversations, I'd like to ask my ERP colleagues to just share themes that came up in your conversations.
And I would say, if I could just jump in there, there's so much richness that came up within that short period of time in terms of people's immigration, personal immigration stories that cut across the globe in different locations, and what happened a long time ago in terms of immigration and what's happening currently now, and the impact that our world is currently having on children and people around the globe. And just the sensitivity to really being cognizant of the needs of people when they go through levels of change, and how that stays with you. And so we needed more time, needless to say. And also, going to Israel or Sweden or Italy, also from Brooklyn to Queens, and how everybody's experiences are impactful and important.
No, it's new. Have you poetry circle? What are you?
Themes for our group were love, loss,
It's very helpful.
connection across time,
About her, Meredith DeRoss.
and also Persis was someone who was on mute and couldn't unmute themselves, and
Well, that's a good example.
we had a little bit of a loss there because they didn't get to share with us. But yeah, love, loss, and connection across time and various situations were the themes that came up for us.
I wanted to say that not everyone in my group got to speak, because there was so much richness in the conversation. And it's amazing how we're together for 6 minutes and we got to learn so much about each other. We came in as just having, Bank Street in common, but then we learned that so many of us came from different countries. Some of us had loss. We learned that journeys are continuing and they don't stop. So yeah, it was just a beautiful conversation. I'm sorry that not all of my participants got to speak.
We will stay on for a while after the tea, and there can be more informal conversation. And
Yeah.
that may be a time where more stories can be shared. It almost was like a teaser to do such a short conversation. But what we had 2 goals with doing this bibliotherapy. And one was really to do exactly what we did, was to get to know each other and get to share time together and get to share stories. Being together in a Zoom room doesn't always feel that real. And when we share our stories in a small group, like Felice said, we become real to each other. In my group, we talked about the emotions that the book brought up and the different pages and the different emotions that came up. And we thought about friends who were planning to move and how to stay connected with them. So the book made somebody think about their own life and what they might want to do when their friend moves away. The story was very connective and reflective in that way. And then we reflected on the journey in a metaphorical way, the journey of life, and what keeps us connected through life's journey. So I'm just going to agree that it was very, very rich to have that time with all of you. So we wanted to have that time. That was why we did bibliotherapy. We also wanted you to understand a little bit about how ERP works out in the world and what we do with teachers and children and all sorts of grown-ups who work in the education world. So we wanted to end our presentation by sharing a little bit about how this book has been received in schools this year. And our colleague Felice shared with us a video of a 2nd grader, and Jane, are you going to show that video? Great. Good, good. I was getting ready to try to figure it out, but Jane has it all ready. So we're going to see a child in a classroom where Felice has been coaching, and we'll hear Felice's voice, and we'll also see the child's teacher. And you'll see that after reading Jenny's journey, sometimes we have people draw pictures and write stories. But on this day, Felice brought in building materials and miniatures and asked the children to play about their journeys, because we know at Bank Street, thanks to Lucy Sprague Mitchell and all of the legacy moving forward, that play is a way that we make connections and seek comfort and share our stories with others.
So the bear was traveling from Chicago and he walked all the way to New York City. Was it a safe journey or was it a scary journey?
You found like a shark, and then we saw I had to only go, so he went on it, and then he started driving all the way until he got to New York City.
And now that he's in New York City, how's he doing? Does he feel better that he's in New York City? But sometimes the walk and the boat ride was a little bit hard. Yeah, I can imagine that the boat and the walking was a little bit hard. But the good news is that guess where your bear is? He's at PS 124 with the best teachers and his best friends and the best teddy bear lady, and he's safe. Thank you for sharing your story. That was a hard story to share.
So we're going to let that story speak for itself. This is just a sampling of what ERP does out in schools, the relationships we build with the adults that take care of kids, the relationships we build with the kids as well, and the way that we are trying to do our part to support the well-being, the feelings, the emotions of not only newly arrived children, not only children with trauma, but really all the children in a classroom, all the children in a school, and all the adults in a school too. So that's our vision of ERP for the day. I'm going to turn it back over to Jane and Tracy, and we'll be available for a little while afterwards to chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Margaret, and the ERP team. And thank you, everybody, for sharing what you shared. As Margaret said, we will keep the Zoom room open for a few minutes after 5 so that we can continue talking. And I know not everybody got to share their journey story, so we can continue on even after 5. Jane and I will keep the Zoom room open and we can chat about Jenny's journey or just reconnect, all things Bank Street, whatever you like. So if you can stay on, please do. But I just want to say an enormous thank you to Shale, Amy, Margaret, and her faculty team from the Center for Emotionally Responsive Practice for sharing all that they did with us today. As you can all see, the Lucy Sprague Mitchell legacy is alive and well at Bank Street. And we're just so grateful that you all turned up together to come together as a community to learn and support the work that Bank Street is leading today. And as our time comes to a close, we'd just like to invite you to consider becoming a part of the Lucy Sprague Mitchell Society by considering to make a planned gift intention to Bank Street. Participation in the society does demonstrate and secures a commitment to the future of progressive education and great teaching for generations to come. And I want to say, if you've already included Bank Street in your estate plans, please let us know so that we can welcome you to the society and keep you in the loop on all the great events that we do for society members. and everything happening in the college. Or if you're just curious to know more, even if it's not quite the right time for you and you just have questions, please contact me and I'll be happy to talk with you. So thank you again for being with us today and your deep commitment to the work that is happening day in and day out by our current teachers, and that all of you have been doing and continue to do. Before we close, or some of us will stay on, so stay on if you like, please mark your calendars for Bank Street's Alumni Weekend. It's taking place May 16th through the 18th. The Niemeyer Lecture will be Thursday evening, May 16th. The BASCA Awards will be Saturday, May 18th. Keep your eyes open for announcements. And if you're in the New York City area, or even if you're not, we hope that you will come in and plan to be with us. So an enormous thank you to everybody. And I think we'll just open the Zoom room now for conversation and sharing as you like.
And I know we have Shale and Amy with us for a couple more minutes. So if anybody had any questions that they wanted to direct to Shale or Amy, thank you for being on, and let's open it up for that. So thank you.
I just think it's so wonderful that you're doing this, because I just think it's so important for teachers.
Marilyn, I think you're muted.
Really?
No, I can hear you.
I can hear.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because, I think teachers need to know how to respond to things that children say that are so important to them psychologically, or highly emotionally, laden with content, and just, that's just so important, not just teaching subjects. And I know Bank Street's been like this always. But I'm so glad you have this this organization that really helps a lot of schools deal with all kinds of issues that children bring to school. And a lot of it isn't dealt with at home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to say something. I was so struck by Lucy Sprague Mitchell's legacy, and how everything that Shale and Amy and Margaret have talked about continue the marvelous understanding that Lucy Sprague brought back in 1916, dealing with the adults and the children's intellectual, social, and emotional development. To hear that it's continuing in everything that Bank Street is doing today just is wonderful. And that's all. I was really struck by the clarity of that. I know when I was a student, my intellectual, social, and emotional development back in 1972 was addressed as an adult, and I learned what teaching was. That parallel processing that worked for me, it taught me what was required in all schools with the children I worked with or the adults that I worked with. And I'm so glad to see it just continue the way it originally was intended to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Hal. I see Lisa has her hand up.
Yes, just very quickly, this session was very inspiring, and I want to thank you all for putting it on. What it did make me think about was actually having alums get together and either in a chat group or working group, but people actually have projects, writing projects that they want to pursue, and getting the help and support, or round circle chat support, that would help us feel like we're in a little community, a little alum community at Bank Street. Work for those of us who have projects and who are trying to work on and do some small thing long after they've graduated. So that's it.
You mentioned that you also work with families, and I just wonder in what context or how you involve the families of the children as well.
Del or Felice, do you want to answer that one?
Sure. Well, I'll give you an example. During COVID, we had families on Zoom reading, doing bibliotherapy, and we have grown-ups and children bringing their stuffies to the screen, and we would read stories about what specifically that comes to mind, a book called In and Out, asking the grown-ups and children what the story reminds them of, and that's a book around COVID. And parents and grown-ups told their stories on Zoom. At schools, just recently, I had a teddy bear workshop for 40 grown-ups, 40 parents, and they made their own bears and they named their bears. We have quilt workshops. Margaret was talking specifically during Hurricane Sandy at 197Q. We invited parents to come and tell their stories at a school in Far Rockaway where there was so much loss in terms of homes and lives. Parents came in and told their stories, and they made a quilt square, and we sewed it together week after week. And the quilt square is still hanging at the school 12 years later. So we do lots of things with parents and families.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
It really builds community, I'm sure.
it does. Yeah.
I have my hand up.
Wonderful.
I wanted to bring up, it's really important because language, what language you speak in. If you're the child and you're dropped off in school and you don't know any English and you're told to sit down and do this and do that, and that happened to me. I had to learn English twice, and it can be very upsetting, but it was wonderful to see what you did with the figures, with the children, the child moving, from Chicago to New York. If a child could do that to explain to the other children what they've gone through, that's very helpful. That was really wonderful.
So it was the child was telling his story about relatives that had just come over from
Yeah.
Venezuela. But in that classroom, there was a child from Russia, and the teacher had, and his journey was about going to a park and to a gazebo. And the teacher had Google, I don't know what, the app Google Translate, and he was able to translate, and the child was able to speak into the phone. So we were able to get his story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I wish I had that on video to show you.
Yes, yes. I've done things with poetry.
Mhm.
And I had a very successful workshop for children that ended up being age 6 to 12, I think, or even high school. And the one that was 6 years old was the best poet in the group. It was amazing because he's just sort of thinking in a holistic way.
Marian, I'm thinking that play is the universal language of children.
Yeah.
And your observation is so astute that through play and through art, we can express ourselves and tell our stories, and children want to know each other's stories.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
We
Do some
often
of it-
use song in the classroom as well as a way to reach children. And this story, Jenny's Journey, I used in a pre-K classroom. And the children had opportunity to really connect to it where they were in their development in a different way than in Felice's situation, but in a significant way for where they were. And they wrote stories to either to their teddy bears or loved ones that had importance for them as well. And we sang songs about, we changed the lyrics, oh dear Teddy, oh don't you cry for me, for I will always love you even if you don't see me, which was
Wow, that's great.
to help them in terms of their own feelings of connecting to their loved ones who are, are they really going to come and pick me up at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, are they really going to be there?
And what I love about Michelle's story is that it reminds us that emotionally responsive practice is good practice for all children. You don't have to have a scary immigration story to benefit from this book. You might just be thinking about your journey from school to home. And that's a big journey when you're a little kid. So emotionally responsive practice in the classroom allows an entry point for everybody, whether the issues that they're thinking about are developmental, like, will my person come back? What does it mean to be attached? Or whether they're experiential, like I just moved or I actually had a traumatic journey. So I love hearing those different stories all coming out of Jenny's journey, kind of like we had tonight with all of you.
You have some groups that come to Bank Street, or you have this experience for kids who are already at Bank Street?
So we actually work mostly with schools beyond Bank Street.
Oh, okay.
So most of our work, some of our work is done in the Bank Street Family Center and the Bank Street Head Start, and even a little bit in the School for Children. But much of the work that you see is done out in schools all around the community of New York City and beyond, and also within our graduate school. So we have several opportunities for the graduate students to be involved in learning about emotionally responsive practice and bringing it into their classroom. So we're a little bit of a bridge between the graduate school and the world out there. And we do sometimes bring groups of teachers to Bank Street for their professional development, but more often we're going out to them.
And we did, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, do you go to preschools? So, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, because they really, you can really see a lot going on with them psychologically in their play.
Yes.
So.
Yes, we work with all ages. We work with daycare centers, preschools, elementary schools. I'm not going to say all ages because we haven't worked with high school, but we have worked with middle schoolers and their teachers. And we work with graduate students, of course. And the same ideas come up, but they come up in different ways at different ages and stages.
I remember when I was at Bank Street, and one of the field work locations was a preschool, and there was this little 2.5-year-old who every day would come in but just stand there with her teddy bear and just stand there the whole time. And so every time I would go, that was kind of happening. And so I had her teddy bear go over and start painting a picture. And that was the breakthrough for her. It was, transitional object.
Yes.
For her.
Exactly.
And so somehow identifying with the little bear, the little bear can play and the little bear can paint. So I guess I can do it. I remember.
I think you did it.
I specifically remember that.
You were doing emotionally responsive practice without calling it that. And I think it was experiences like that that caused our founding director, Leslie Koplow, to create the Teddy Bear program, to see that when you started speaking the child's language, which was the language of play, like Marianne mentioned, the child looked at you in a new way because you were communicating on their level in a way that made sense for them, that was real for them. And even though for you, you were kind of instinctively trying something out, given that she was holding the bear, this is what we've taken with the teddy bear work, this understanding that it's a language children speak. And so when we speak it with them, more things are possible in the classroom, and they're never negative things.
That's a very
just wanna
interesting
add-
way of saying that it's the child's language. Well, play, yeah. The teddy bear.
I just want to add that I think the fact that we're having this and being able to listen to one another and to hear each other is just so very, very important to our sense of community, our sense of development, and always our openness to learning from one another. And I unfortunately have to go, but I really appreciate these kinds of interactions and look forward to them.
Yeah.
And I have to go too. I'm supposed to meet a friend, so please forgive me. Have a good evening.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Dina.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you
you
for
really
coming.
done.
Well,
Is there anyone here who didn't get to share their story in their small group that wanted to share it a little bit more? I'm thinking about our Bank Street journey. Each of us coming back home to Bank Street and going back out into the world kind of reminds me of that go away and come back. 2-year-olds do, like Marilyn was talking about. There's some kind of journey where Bank Street is the continuity for us.
Well, after I left Bank Street, I worked at the early care clinic in Mount Vernon, and that was for children who had emotional problems. Basically, I worked with 2 children in particular. It was a group setting, so it was play therapy with the children. And these 2 children, they were like 2.5, and one of them, their father died over a long period of time. And through play, and her being able to express what was going on and how she was feeling and her various, stages of development, how she expressed it, she was able to mourn and understand the loss. And then the other one was a little girl who had a difficult relationship with her mother, and her mother ended up murdering her younger sister when she was about 2. And so that was something. She only went to jail for a few what was it? I think just a few years back then. This was in 1970s. And so, over 2 years, we were able to help her with all of those traumatic feelings. So this just all reminds me of that play therapy, that can really, really help children through mourning and bereavement.
Yeah, thank you. And we do teach about when children have those very hard stories. We do teach about trauma, as Shale said. And some of the important work that we do is supporting the adults who need to take care of the kids and hear those hard stories and hold those stories, as you've held this really, really sad and scary story for so long. It's hard work for adults to hold difficult stories, and that's part of the mission of emotionally responsive practice. Is the coach is not only helping you with your practice, but the coach is also there to partner with you in the emotional burden of being a teacher and encountering the stories that children bring in.
Well, Margaret, I know that you have to teach a class in 15 minutes, so I just want to say an enormous thank you to Margaret, Felice, Michelle, and Gabrielle for being with us. I think Eve had to jump off, but thank you for being with us to share the amazing work that you're doing in the classrooms. I think we will have so much to talk about going forward, but thank you all for being with us. And I hope to see everyone again very soon at the next Bank Street gathering. So please stay tuned.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I wanted to say goodbye to Carol. Carol.
Thank you for the
Way to see
I just thank
Where
you.
are you? That's
Yeah.
that looks beautiful.
Just don't pour your tea on top of your little bear, just because it's little enough to fit in the teacup.
Yeah, my teacup.
Bye for now.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now. See you
for
soon.
coming.
That was a lot of tech. But
You guys,
You did really well.
You all
Oh
were
my
fantastic.
goodness.
So good.
Wow, Margaret.
Margaret, you
yeah,
are
no, all of you.
Oh
I mean,
my
just to
goodness.
have folks
Very smooth.
hear their
Very
story, because
smooth.
I'm sure they loved being able to tell their stories, and that connected
Yeah.
them back into the classroom. So, wow, thank you
It-
so much. And
Yeah, I think
told
this
you
group needs to tell
could
their
relate
stories
back
every
to
time
how
you
it
get
might help
together.
a child. So that was amazing.
Oh.
Wow. I feel like I watched a really great jazz concert just now.
Yeah, the on the spot responsiveness, I think.
You were
Well, I
great.
first learned it from Felice when she was my mentor in ERP. Kind of like, whoa, what do you say to that? Well, you use reflective technique.
You're great, Margaret.
It was wonderful.
That was
Wonderful.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was
People really wanted to talk.
Mhm.
They
I felt
really
so
wanted to
bad.
talk. And who was it? It was oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name. She's writing a book, and it immediately brought up her own immigration stories. And she was the first person that talked about getting together, and
Lisa
supporting.
Breslov.
Yeah, Lisa. And yes, supporting people in the group goes a long way, I would think. It really goes a long way. And there's a lot of overlap in terms of their interests in life in the world and their voice being heard. So, wow.
I thought it was interesting what Marian suggested about a group for alumni to
Yeah.
come tell their stories is what I
Yeah.
kind of interpreted from it.
Yeah, no,
was-
now we have, because we both want to talk, but I think that we'll be in
Oh, now we can't hear either of
our
you.
alumni relations leader, because I think you're right. Like, I feel like this particular group, and maybe we can think about it for Lucy Sprague Mitchell, sort of future society members, they just like to hear what each other are doing. Have a resident or two experts to bounce ideas off of. But I think you're right. I think they value the community part of this. So, and you so quickly helped establish that tone and that sense of community, which isn't always easy on Zoom. So very much appreciate
Yeah.
that.
There,
Now we'll
we
let you go
are,
to
I'll
the
include
shed
myself
do
of
your stuff.
memoir age. And so
Thank
people,
you so much.
Michelle, I heard you say memoir.
yeah, I was saying that this group, what I came away from, we're of the memoir age, where people are unpacking their stories. And I think that's something that could really be tapped into,
Yeah.
I really do. I think you can.
On like a Bank Street, like our teaching career memoir
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
series, a 6-week
Yeah.
once a
Yeah,
week,
what a
get
great
together
idea.
to write and
Yeah.
read your stories to each other?
You know it, and we have things like the Writers Lab, which is a good, I mean, we've got a couple resources to think about plugging
Right.
them into also, because we have also, I don't know if you've met the new archivist, but she's started to collect, her name's Grace Handy, and she's lovely, but she is starting, there were at least 2 people on this call who had recently talked with Grace about their stories about Bank Street. And so that's a great idea, is to think about kind of workshop group.
Yeah, a writing group.
Michelle, maybe you want to run it. So, well, thank you. We will let you go off into the world.
Jane and Tracy will miss you.
Yeah, this was
So much.
Yeah.
You're great to
We
work
need to get together and chat.
I'm a sign off now. See
Bye,
you.
Michelle.
Thank you so much. It was fabulous.
Thank you,
It
everybody,
was
for
great.
coming.
Go you, Margaret. Thank you,
Oh,
Jane.
you. Thanks for the
Bye,
idea.
everybody.
Bye.